the boast of 1,000,000. The War Council chamber was designed to intimidate. It was cavernous, lined with jagged black metal pillars, each etched with runes of conquest. Holoscreens the size of starships flickered overhead, displaying maps of burning worlds and fleets clashing in the void. The banners of the Exorthuan Dominion, crimson suns pierced by clawed talons, hung from the high arches, dripping with arrogance. At the center of it all, standing tall upon a raised dais, was General Kor Valzar. Kor was no ordinary officer. His scaled armor clung tight to a frame bristling with muscle and biotechnical grafts. His eyes, vertical slits glowing a toxic green, scanned the chamber with the patience of a predator. Every word he spoke was amplified by the chamber's resonance field, so that even his whispers rolled like thunder. Behind him, the great hollow projection of his army materialized. 1,000,000 soldiers, rows upon rows of Exorthuan warriors stretched across continents, their serrated weapons gleaming, their exoskeleton armor catching the light. Orbital fleets hovered like hungry vultures above captured skies. The alien officers and counselors leaned forward with visible hunger. They wanted to see fear in the lone human standing below. But the human captain, a man known only as Elias Kane, did not flinch. He stood in simple combat fatigues, the matte black of Earth's resistance forces. His face was weathered, a scar running from temple to jaw, but his eyes were steady, calm, almost amused. His presence was a contradiction in the room of monsters. Where the Exorthuan bristled with warlike grandeur, Kane radiated quiet defiance. Kor's maw curled into a jagged grin. His voice thundered through the chamber. "Do you see, human? I have 1,000,000 soldiers, each bred for war, trained to shred fleets and scorch cities. Your Earth fleets crumble before us. Your colonies burn. Your species is scattered. You stand alone, a single fragile man before the tide of extinction. Tell me, what do you have?" The chamber roared with laughter. Alien officers hissed and screeched, slamming clawed hands against the table in mockery. The sound was like a storm of blades. Kane let the echoes wash over him. He stood perfectly still, waiting for silence, waiting for the predator's grin to widen. Then he spoke. His voice was not amplified, not booming with alien technology. Yet somehow it carried, sharp as a blade drawn in the dark. "You say you have 1,000,000 soldiers." The chamber quieted. His tone was steady, each syllable deliberate. "Good." Kane took a step forward, his boots echoing softly on the black stone floor. His gaze locked with Kor's unblinking eyes. "That means I have 1,000,000 targets." The words hit like a weapon. The chamber, moments ago filled with laughter, froze. No one moved. The silence was suffocating. Even the hum of the resonance field seemed to falter. For the first time, Kor's grin faltered. His green eyes narrowed. The shadow of history. The Exorthuan Dominion knew of humanity. They had studied Earth when it was discovered on the galactic fringe. Their scholars had dismissed humans as fragile, primitive, short-lived, soft-skinned, brittle-boned creatures who relied too heavily on machines. But what the Dominion never understood, what their calculations failed to capture, was the human mindset. Humans had survived extinction events, wars, plagues, and the cold vacuum of space not because they were the strongest, but because they were relentless. They adapted. They turned every defeat into a lesson, every scar into a weapon. And in Elias Kane, that relentlessness burned brighter than the Dominion realized. Kor leaned forward, resting his clawed hands on the edge of his dais. "Bravado!" His voice rumbled like an approaching storm. "Do you think your words will stop this tide? My 1,000,000 will bury you. They will drown your world in rivers of blood." Kane tilted his head slightly, almost amused. "Rivers of blood," he repeated as though tasting the phrase. "We've seen them before. Yours won't be the first, and they won't be the last." A murmur rippled through the alien officers. Some hissed with agitation. Others leaned back uneasily, as if uncertain why the human spoke with such calm assurance. Kor snarled, rising to his full height, towering nearly 3 meters. "You dare mock the Dominion's might?" Kane's reply was immediate, cutting through the tension like a blade. No, I'm not mocking it. I'm counting on it. The chamber erupted again, but this time not with laughter, with confusion, with unease, a dangerous smile. Kane began to walk slowly in a circle, pacing like a man explaining something to children. His hands stayed loose at his sides, unarmed, but his voice carried with the conviction of inevitability. You gathered them, didn't you? All your strength. 1,000,000 soldiers. 1,000,000 ships. You concentrated them here, to break us in one crushing blow. He turned to face the projection of Kor's army, the endless tide of Exorthuan warriors. That's your mistake. Kor bared his fangs. Explain yourself, ape. Kane's smile was thin, dangerous. Because humanity doesn't fear big numbers. We break them. We've always broken them. You think you're the first to overwhelm us with sheer force? Every empire that's tried to crush us with numbers has one thing in common. He stopped pacing. His eyes locked on Kor's. They don't exist anymore. The words carried weight beyond the chamber. They carried history. Echoes of every desperate stand on Earth's soil. Every hopeless war fought against impossible odds. The first crack. For the first time, some of the alien officers shifted uncomfortably. Their claws tapped nervously against the table. Their eyes darted between Kor and Kane. Kor's voice thundered in fury, but there was a tightness in it now, an edge of doubt. You will regret your insolence. You stand alone, without an army, without hope. What are you but a single man? Kane's expression hardened. I'm a soldier of Earth. He let the words hang. Then he added, softer but sharper, and a soldier of Earth never stands alone. The chamber lights flickered. At first, the aliens thought it was a glitch. Then the holoscreens shifted, once showing Kor's 1,000,000 soldiers, now glitching, breaking apart, pixelating into static. Across the Dominion's vast communications grid, something had slipped in unnoticed. Kane's eyes never left Kor's as the alien general's face tightened with realization. You brought your 1,000,000 soldiers here, Kane said, and we brought 1,000,000 ways to break them. The stage set. The chamber erupted into chaos. Officers hissed into comms, demanding status reports. Holoscreens flickered with false signals, jammed transmissions, and red warning glyphs. Ships in orbit lost synchronization. Fleets went dark. Kane simply stood there, hands behind his back, as though this had all been inevitable. Kor's roar shook the chamber. What have you done? Kane leaned forward just enough for the words to cut deep. You gave me 1,000,000 targets. And with that, the war truly began. The first 1,000,000 targets. The War Council chamber had dissolved into chaos. Alarms shrieked from hidden panels, their tone high and grating. Red glyphs pulsed across the holoscreens. Warning of system breaches the Dominion's engineers swore were impossible. General Kor's talons raked the metal edge of his command dais. Sparks hissed, metal bent, but the human, Captain Elias Kane, remained still. He didn't need to move. His words had already set everything in motion. The crack in the wall. Report! Kor roared. His voice amplified so violently the resonance field wavered. One of his subcommanders scrambled forward, scales dull in the harsh red light. His frills fluttered with panic as he spoke. My general, communications grid is collapsing across the forward fleet. Drone relays are going dark. Entire battle groups are blind. Kor snarled, slamming a clawed fist into the dais. Impossible. Our encryption is unbreakable. Kane finally moved, stepping toward the nearest holoscreen as if inspecting it. His shadow stretched long across the chamber. Not unbreakable, he said quietly. Just misunderstood. You built your systems to resist yourselves. You never built them to resist us. Every alien I turned toward him. Their fear wasn't just in the breach, it was in his tone. Calm, patient, deadly. The first wave falls. The holoscreens stabilized for a moment, flickering to show the Dominion's 1,000,000-strong army once more. But now cracks appeared in the image. Rows of soldiers began to collapse, their formation lines broken by explosions erupting behind their front ranks. Orbital supply transports detonated in sudden fireballs, sending shockwaves through carefully marshaled troops. Commander screeched. "They're under attack. From their own skies." Another officer slammed his claws against a console. "Our defense drones. Turning against us." The chamber filled with overlapping shrieks of panic. The Dominion had brought their million soldiers to one place, centralizing their might. And Kane had been waiting for it. The ghost in the system. Kor's voice thundered. "What trickery is this?" Kane met his gaze, eyes steady, voice calm. "No trick, just preparation. You thought we were retreating when our colonies fell. You thought we were hiding when our fleet scattered. We weren't retreating, Kor. We were watching, learning, listening." He pointed to the screen showing drones tearing through Exorthuan formations. "Every battle you thought you won, we planted seeds. Viruses in your code. Buried commands in your comms. Traps in your supply networks. And tonight, when you gathered your million soldiers into one place." Kane's expression hardened, voice cold as steel. "We pulled the trigger." The general's rage. Kor's roar was so violent that dust rained down from the high arches. His claws gouged deep trenches into the command dais. "You dare poison our networks? You think such sabotage will win you this war? A million soldiers do not fall to shadows and whispers." Kane tilted his head, almost pitying. "A million soldiers fall the same way every army in history has fallen. One by one. The first blow." The holoscreens shifted again, this time zooming on orbital footage. Entire Exorthuan battle groups were dissolving into chaos. Troop transports dropped from orbit as their guidance failed. Mechs lumbered forward, then froze, their control systems corrupted. And then came the explosions. Not random, not chaotic, precise. Fuel depots, ammunition caches, command nodes, each detonated in sequence, rolling through the Dominion lines like dominoes. The chamber shook as if the destruction outside was bleeding into the very bones of the station. Alien officers stumbled, shrieking reports that contradicted each other. Kor bellowed above the noise. "Find the human fleet. Find them." A trembling officer replied, "We cannot locate them, General. Our sensors are blind." Kane's voice cut through the chaos, calm and cruel. "That's because you're looking in the wrong place. The Ghost Fleet." A new holoscreen opened, this one not from Dominion sensors but from a human transmission injected directly into the chamber's systems. A fleet appeared, not massive, not shining with the grandeur of the Dominion's war machine. Scarred ships, patched hulls, older models painted black to blend with the void. A fleet that should have been hunted to extinction months ago. But they were there, hundreds strong. The officers hissed, some in disbelief, some in terror. Kane allowed himself a thin smile. "You thought we were running, but all this time we've been building a fleet in the shadows. Not bigger, not stronger, smarter. And tonight, General, that fleet is already in your skies." As if on cue, the human ships opened fire. Railgun rounds streaked like falling stars. Hypersonic missiles ripped through blind Dominion cruisers. Entire formations crumbled before they realized what had struck them. The million soldiers on the ground looked to their skies for protection. Instead, they saw their fleets burn. The target of targets. Kor's rage boiled over. He leaned down, snarling directly into Kane's face, green eyes blazing. "You dare? You dare face me with this paltry force? A million targets you claim? Then you will watch as I crush your shadows and scatter your ashes." Kane didn't move. His voice was ice. "No, General. You'll watch as they crush you. Because your mistake wasn't gathering your army." He turned toward the holoscreen again, where more Dominion warships erupted in flames. "It was letting me see them all at once." The shift in fear. The chamber trembled with each distant explosion. But what terrified the alien officers most wasn't the sound of battle outside. It was the human inside. Kane didn't flinch at the roars. He didn't smile at the destruction. He stood like a man delivering a sentence already decided. To the Exorthuan, it was unthinkable. A single human, surrounded by enemies, not only unafraid but commanding the storm. And in that realization, The first crack of true fear spread through the Dominion's War Council. The last exchange. Kor slammed his claws down again, leaning so close his fangs dripped venom. You think you've won because you strike first? 1,000,000 soldiers remain. They will march. They will burn your worlds until no cinders remain. And you will die with them. Kain raised his eyes to meet Kor's without hesitation. Maybe. The word hung heavy. It wasn't bravado. It wasn't false confidence. It was worse. It was truth, spoken by a man who had already accepted the cost. Then he added softly the words that froze the chamber in place. But before I fall, General, I promise you this. I'll take your 1,000,000 with me. The storm breaks. As if answering him, the holoscreens erupted with new images. Dominion tanks detonating from within, sabotaged fuel lines igniting. Mechs turning their guns on their own ranks, corrupted systems seizing control. Human strike teams materializing from underground tunnels, weapons flashing in the chaos. Orbital Dominion command ships splitting apart as hidden human minds tore through their hulls. The 1,000,000 soldiers had been transformed into 1,000,000 targets. And one by one they were falling. Kor's bellow of rage shook the chamber. He lunged, claws outstretched toward Kain. But before they struck, the chamber lights flared, and Dominion guards seized the human captain. Kain didn't resist. He only smiled, eyes locked on Kor's as the general's fury consumed him.